Going live. Let's see. We are live. We got a bunch of bigots in the chat. We got Jay Dyer here of jaysanalysis.com. Jay Dyer on YouTube. JD007 up on the Twitter, aka X. We're beaming into your skulls through the internet that is still working. It's still working. We still have internet, guys, but we might not have internet very soon, according to the good grown-ups at the World Economic Forum, the grown-up social engineers who we as little ignorant children need to look to for guidance in difficult times of crises that are engineered by those same people very often. And yeah, what's up, Jay? How you doing, man?
I'm good. I was just learning from you the secrets and the mysteries of the various degrees that you've studied of gematria, the esoteric art of doing divination through crystals, which I just said was basically not being heterosexual.
Yeah, well, what we're getting at here is we all know about the science of gematria, right? Jay is one of the top gematria scholars online. He was one of the top gematria YouTube scholars. He's able to tell you things about your past, the future, all sorts of stuff just by looking at numbers. So, but I've actually taken this to the next level, and I do gematria, where I will stare into gemstones and look for phantasms that seem like numbers, and then I'll do my gematria through that. So I kind of put an extra spiritual layer. It's not that I'm better than Jay, I'm just more spiritual than him. So I have these
Tristan
higher
can
levels.
basically see any future timeline, any potential future timeline that is not hetero when he looks into when he does gematria.
Hetero meaning like I look at divergent timelines, right? So like Jay is a homo timelineian, where he thinks he's only looks at one timeline. I myself actually am a multi-timeline being.
So you're saying my timeline is homo linear.
Yeah. Homo fascist, one might call it.
Okay.
Yeah. Look at this. We got a stupid movie we're gonna talk about tonight, don't we, Jay?
Shit, this was the best movie I've ever seen in the last.
Well, it was produced by a personal hero of mine, Big Mike, Michael Obama, Michelle Obama actually produced
my
this
wife,
film.
Michael.
Yeah,
thank you, Tristan. Well, I'd like to say thank you, Tristan, for complimenting my wife, Michael.
Big Mike. Shout out to Big Mike, future president of the United States of America. I don't even know where to start.
Already, they're like the president of food, right?
The president of food? What do you mean? Are you body shaming her?
No, I'm being serious. Like her whole ethos, she's like the department.
Because she's fat. Because you're calling her fat.
No, I'm being.
You're saying all black women are fat.
No, I'm being serious. You should know this. Like she's always out there trying to tell all the high school kids like some special diet that she's all about. She's basically the president of food.
Yeah, I remember that. I covered that on a stream a few years ago. She was talking about school lunches, right? She's like
that was her whole thing for a long time.
The unofficial school lunch. She's the czar of school lunches. I don't know. I mean, I know Jay's really into Michelle Obama. He's always telling me weird jokes. Like I'll give her my school lunch, stuff like that.
Yeah, I write Michelle fan fiction. That's what I was trying to tell people before it, trying to tell you before the stream started.
Yeah, but you were reading it to me, and it got really awkward. Yeah. My wife was in the room; she had to leave. She was like, it was.
You can decode that fan fiction into gematria, and then that's how we got into gematria, which you were trying to tell me about that.
Exactly. Anyways, I mean that's what we were talking about before. The audience understands; they know all about the gematria. Let me turn.
But look, for those that don't know, this is an Obama-produced movie.
$25 million. Jay, I had Jay fact check this. Can you believe they spent $25 million on this piece of absolute garbage of a film? Yeah, I'm just actually shocked at the cost of this stupid ass movie.
My first question for you is, since you kind of you've taken a break from a lot of movies and media for a good while, What's it like going back and seeing a movie, you know, that's this propaganda heavy? I mean, does it just come off as like, it's almost kind of insulting, you know what I mean? Like you watch these movies and it's like, come on, man, just give me a movie. I know you're propagandizing me, so
Yeah, at least you could make it fun. At least make it entertaining. At least make it, and at least be bad enough to where it's funny bad, right? Like Leprechaun 5, Lep in the Hood. You know what I'm saying? Like this, that's
yeah,
if you're gonna make a shitty movie, at least make it at that level to where we can just crack up at it. But there's nothing even funny about this one. Yeah, dude. No, the last movie that I watched, actually, my wife had never seen The Godfather, so I was like, well, you got to see The Godfather Part 1 and Part 2. We didn't watch Part 3 because I could never get through Part 3. I know there's an interesting storyline to it, but just Sofia Coppola's acting and I just couldn't bear to get through that one. But we watched Godfather 1 and 2, and it was pretty solid movies. Not a ton of social engineering, shove it down your throat nonsense, but this one is over the top. Yeah, I mean, and there's it's Godfather. There's a level of artistry to it. The acting's amazing, cinematography, the music. It's like it's a proper period piece. Sorry, my mic keeps turning itself down for some reason. I gotta somehow lock this thing in. So yeah,
actually,
man.
Not a problem at all.
Yeah. Oh, you probably prefer that it was lower, right? You're gonna do the mean thing where you say that you don't like hearing my voice.
I was just gonna let it go until you kind of just went silent and everything would be good. I'm sorry, I hurt your feelings last time.
No, it's not my feelings. It's mental health.
Okay, mental health.
You're giving me the mental health again, Jay.
Is it just one mental health or mental health's plural?
Well, dude, I'm not trying to get all scientific with it. I'm not a freaking scientist, bro.
Have you looked into Scientology?
I've tried it. I like it. I learned some things.
Dianetics.
Dianetics. Dang. I'm pissed. Actually, this freaking mic is giving me mental health, so it keeps turning itself down. I don't understand what the hell is wrong with this thing. Maybe it'll lock in now. Sorry, audience. This movie is freaking awful. This movie is absolutely terrible. I've got some screenshots pulled up of the movie now. So this came out a few months ago, right? Like I think it was October 2023 that this was released on Netflix for anybody who wants to waste their time. I didn't even
realize it was already out. I thought maybe I thought it was going to be like a theater movie, but then I realized it was just a Netflix movie. But yeah, I didn't realize when it was. I was looking to see the release date. I don't see it, but I was going to look up to see what this guy, other things he had directed. Oh, it's the guy that did Mr. Robot, which actually was pretty heavy on predictive programming. I had to tap out of that one when they showed the full on guy with guy scene. I was like, all right, I'm out. So
I didn't watch that.
But I mean, Mr. Robot was pretty crazy with like controlled opposition, hackers. The establishment was running hacking. Rami Malek's the kind of the main guy. He seems to be this MK Ultra subject who's kind of programmed. I mean, it was pretty intense with the predictive programming. Then by season 2 or 3, they started having like straight up dude scenes. So I tapped out. So that guy.
It seems like you're trying to convince us that you didn't watch some sort of scenes. I'm sorry.
But the director is the guy who did this, so we can see that he's no stranger to predictive programming. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I actually something I was reading a little bit about the movie and about about Leave the World Behind, and somebody said that the director actually confirmed that it's supposedly in the same universe as Mr. Robot. I haven't seen Mr. Robot, but yeah, Esmail, I guess, said that this is in the same universe.
That does make sense with the hacking narrative at the beginning. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
I didn't even realize that. Okay.
Well, it's interesting. The hacking narrative is kind of brought up a little bit later. I got some notes here on this freaking awful movie. I'm interested in hearing your thoughts about it, but it opens up with what's his name? The white guy, the white character. His name
Ethan
is
Hawke.
Clay. What's the actor's name again?
Ethan Hawke.
Ethan Hawke. Opens up with Ethan Hawke, and he's in bed, right? Ethan Hawke is in bed in his house. I mean, well, actually, it opens up with a shot of the Earth, like from space, and then it zooms in. It's kind of like this Google satellite zoom in, super zoom into their little spot in New York City, and then you're revealed Ethan Hawke in his bed, and there's a big crack on the wall. And the wall is all blue, and it kind of the wall and everything around him is blue, right? His car is blue, the clothing they're wearing is blue. There's a lot of this blue color, and there's a giant chasm, like a crack that's all the way through his wall, almost like a rift in his reality, right?
Yeah.
So that the theme of the color blue is really prominent throughout it. You learn a little bit about the characters there. Julia Roberts' character she's kind of supposed to be like a Karen.
She's a
which
Karen.
is,
I was going to say she's an unhappy, bitchy Karen. Exactly.
yeah, she's a bitchy white woman. So the stereotypical Hollywood
Wine mom, whiny wine mom. Yep.
wine mom, and he's a professor, and he's kind of a relatively intelligent guy, I'm sure, in his realm, right? The main character, Clay, the main character, part of this family, Clay, but he's nothing impressive, right? He just seems
Well,
like
yeah, even the name, he's actually a pretty weak character. There's several places in the film where he's intentionally shown as morally weak and lacking courage. One of the reasons that Julia Roberts is a wine mom Karen is because he just wants to go along to get along. He never stands up to stuff. In fact, he says, I know he does kind of mildly stand up to, the people that actually own the house when they show up. But he says something like, look, I just need everything to just be like it is. He uses this phrase like that. So he's the name Clay is a very weak kind of thing. It's easily,
it's something that's moldable. It's something that doesn't have
malleable,
its own,
exactly. So
it doesn't have its
like
own form or a will. It's just something to be molded and formed by the world.
He's just a douchey college professor, kind of normie libtard, basically.
But he's not even that douchey, right? Like, he's not even douchey enough to make you despise him. He's just the kind of person who you just, you kind of just ignore. He's just like nothing.
That's a good way to put it. And that's why Julia Roberts doesn't respect him, right? Because she's constantly bitching at him, right? Constantly fussing and nagging. She's always nagging.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, so they decide, so she starts out her opening monologue. She's watching some people walk in the street, and then she says, I was just watching them go and live their little lives, basically. It's kind of beautiful. And then I realize, I effing hate people.
I effing hate people. Yeah.
Yeah. And she says it. She breaks the fourth wall, looks into the camera, and at that moment, you're a few minutes into the movie. You're like, okay, I'll take it. It's like getting a little dark here. She's kind of a bitchy character. But she's still, she lacks depth really as a character throughout the whole film. She's just kind of a bitchy wine mom who hates everything.
Yeah, she wants. She's selfish. She's entitled. She has this superiority complex that's, we find out later, is really unjustified, and they have rented this Airbnb, this kind of fancy house out in it's like in a Martha's Vineyard type place. I forget exactly where it is, but it's called Point Comfort, Long Island. So it's Point Comfort. A lot of this movie has to do with satirizing and guilt tripping people who live, especially upper class white people that live well.
Yeah.
That can only exist. All that comfort can only exist in a system of radical oppression and injustice, basically.
Yeah, and all of that is an undercurrent throughout the film, but they don't. You could tell that they were trying to not make it. They were trying to not make it too preachy. They didn't want to make it too obnoxious.
Right.
So you could tell that they kind of consciously were doing their best to keep it on the down low. But it's such a prominent theme, right? The race relations. The white people are bad. White people are untrustworthy. White people are obnoxious. White people are spineless. This is a theme that you see throughout the movie as this kind of white upper middle class. I guess they're upper middle class or lower upper class, maybe. family
Yeah, upper
is.
middle class, and because they have enough money to rent this pretty fancy house, Airbnb it or whatever for I think for the summer or for a good amount of time. They're going to be there for we think the summer probably. So
I thought it
they
was
have
for like
that.
a week. I thought it was just, hey, we're gonna
Oh,
do this quick trip, like quick
oh,
vacation for a week, and they're Airbnb-ing this really nice house. It's almost, they're Airbnb-ing a house that could have been like, Obama's house in Martha's Vineyard,
yeah.
or like one of Obama's
Well, that's
10
still, I mean,
vacation homes.
Airbnb that for a week, that kind of a house for a week would be, $7,000-$10,000. So
Yeah, and they
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 they're upper
insinuate that it
middle
might
class.
have been $1,000 a night because
Yeah,
the guy says, well, we can get into the next characters that are introduced. Once the family gets to this
your
home,
your
they're
mic's
hanging
cutting
out.
out.
Yeah, so the family gets to this home. Dude, my mic is going nuts. It keeps turning itself down. I'm about to freaking break this thing. We're having a major cyber attack here.
I was
My
gonna say you got you got
cyber polygon has
the
begun, you
Russian
guys.
hackers are hacking into your microphone.
They're hacking my microphone and lowering the volume. It's incredibly obnoxious.
Tristan down. Screw with him.
Yeah. Um,
Show him the
so,
power of Mother Russia. Right. That's in the Democrat mind. That's what we're supposed to think. Right. The
well,
Russian
yeah, in the
hackers.
mind of the filmmakers as well,
Mhm.
right? The Russian hackers, the Iranian hackers.
The
It's
Iranian hackers. Yeah.
it's like this conglomeration of possible hack attacks. So, just a shout out to the audience. Hey guys, I see a couple super chats there on YouTube.
You went
Best way to
silent.
support the stream is going to be the super chats on Streamlabs. I'll share them super chats from Streamlabs with Jay here. YouTube, it's kind of harder to do that because they don't send stuff till later. But best way to super chat, best way to support the stream is to use that link that I just dropped. I'll pin it up in the chat here too. Use the Streamlabs link. It's also in the description. Thank you guys for supporting. Thank you guys for sharing the video, like the video, do all that stuff. If you're not already subscribed to Jay over at Jay's Analysis on YouTube, Jay Dyer on YouTube, there's a link in the description too. Hit him up over there. So, all right, back to the movie. So then the next characters that are introduced when the white folks, the crusty, boring. I gotta turn my mic up again. So obnoxious. The crusty, boring white folks are at their kind of Martha's Vineyard vacation house, and all of a sudden, they get a knock on the door. Right? They get a knock on the door. Well, I know. Wait, this is after
Hasn't the internet gone
there's a
out?
ship that almost. There's
You
an
cut
oil
out.
tanker that kind of washes up on shore, drives straight into the beach.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so that's one of the actually better filmed, like the cinematography and stuff
That
on
was
that
cool.
scene
Yeah.
and the tension that they built. It was decent. It's kind of like a Hitchcock scene almost.
Yeah, the first half of the movie, I was actually pretty into it. I was like, all right, this is, it's got my attention. I don't know what's going on. I mean, I want to know who's the bad guy. And they did good deflecting in the first half of the movie between, okay, is this guy who gets back with his daughter, is he part of some scam? Is he going to try to kill Julia Roberts and Ethan Hawke? Are they there to try to rob the place? And it's their story that they're making. We don't know. It keeps going back and forth. And we started thinking, oh, maybe Ethan Hawke and Julia Roberts are up to no good and they're the real villains. So it had us guessing. And another thing I noticed right away was, so we see this oil tanker when they're at the beach. It just sort of lands mysteriously. Nobody seems to be at the helm of it. And that's kind of like, okay, so oil, right? Central to America, the petrodollar, oil is coming to a halt. I think, don't they already begin to hear or experience the internet being out, right? So the internet's out for a bit on their phones or something like that. There's no Wi-Fi at the Airbnb that they're at or whatever, and we start to notice that every scene has corporate products. Julia Roberts sets her Starbucks up, and you see the Starbucks logo. We see other products that they're eating. They're playing, Jenga. We see the Jenga. So a lot of corporate products, oil, like all this stuff is very prevalent early on in the film. And that's part of this life of comfort and, life of, Fortune 100, Fortune 500 that we already kind of know is going to come to a halt, right? We're going to leave that world behind, the world of comfy America. Again, they're in Point Comfort, Long Island.
Yeah, and the family, everybody's kind of insulated in their own little world, right? The daughter's got her like iPad thing, and she's always watching
He
episodes
lives in
of
the world of watching,
Friends.
Friends. Exactly.
She's watching Friends. She's trying to get through the whole series of Friends. The son's got he's got his cell phone. The son's probably, I think he's 16 years old, they say in the film. The daughter seems like she's supposed to be maybe around 9 or so. Julia Roberts is, Skyping or, FaceTiming or whatever with a friend of hers in the car on the way there. She's got her earphones in. The husband is kind of, just dopily driving the car, zonked out and zoned out. So everybody's in their own little world on their way to the house. And then, so the house itself is kind of this place where they're even isolated from being able to fully engage with the home. Right, the husband walks in and he sees that there's top shelf liquor, and he goes, "Oh, this has got some top shelf liquor here." Mm-hmm. And he goes and tries to open the cabinet. It's locked, and the lady says, "Well, according to the instructions here, that we don't have access to that." So it's even the home they're staying in is not theirs. They're guests in this home. They're colonizers of the home.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's America kind of in a microcosm is what it's supposed to be. The house symbolizes, that colonizing imagery that you're talking about. Absolutely.
Yeah. So the house, and the camera work and stuff in the first part of I don't know, maybe first 20 minutes of the movie it's interesting. But it kind of gets gimmicky after a bit. You could tell that, it's kind of like a one-trick pony with, they'll have these drone shots where the camera flips upside down slowly, kind of like, the world is being inverted.
Turned upside down.
And they do that way. He does it way too much. I think he kind of goes a little bit too far with the goofy camera work. The wife, she goes shopping. She goes shopping and buys some stuff so that they can have some food. She buys the husband a pack of smokes. This part's so stupid. She buys him a pack of Marlboro Reds or something. She comes back and she goes to give it to him, goes to show it to him. And he's like, "That's not mine. I swear, that's not mine." And she's like, No, I bought it for you. I know you like to sneak off for a smoke now and then. I figure, we can, you just do it when the kids aren't around here. As if nobody's going to smell a freaking Marlboro Red on this guy. Like, the stinkiest damn cigarettes there are. Right. But there's this idea of keeping secrets from each other.
That's another consumerist corporate image there, Marlboro Red. I mean, it's an American thing, right? It's
an American thing, and there's also, the everybody having their own little guilty pleasures or their own way of kind of living this hedonistic lifestyle that's isolated from the others, right? The wife has her drink. She likes to have a little bit of wine, get a little tipsy. The daughter's just got her nose in the iPad. She's watching Friends all the time.
Black guy's daughter smokes weed with Ethan Hawke. They like to go sneak off and smoke weed. So
they vape the marijuana. get a little high later on. So everybody's got their little vices that they engage in secretly, but this idea of mistrust, of secrecy, of dishonesty, of small lies is you see this throughout the film, and the biggest perpetrators of this are, of course, the white family that are juxtaposed with the black family. What's that actor's name? Maharaja something.
I forgot, but yeah,
he's in a bunch of stuff. So anyways, they after this oil tanker, there's this mysterious incident where it's almost this Hitchcockian scene where this oil tanker slams into the seashore. Everyone's trying to figure out what's going on here. It's this mysterious event. The family leaves the beach because they almost get hit by an oil tanker that beaches itself. And then they, I think it's the same night, they get a knock on the door, and they open the door. Oh, this scene's actually really funny, right? The white guy, Ethan Hawke, the wife gets real scared. She's like, "Get a bat." She's like, "Go get a bat." And Ethan Hawke's character, Clay, is like, "Why would I have a bat?" So he grabs this modern art piece that just looks like a like a bong made out of clay, like a weird tube of clay, and goes to the door. He opens the door. Like, what are you going to do with that, dude? That thing's going to smash in a million pieces if you hit someone with it. So just the kind of effeminate, inability to protect his wife, to protect his family, to actually provide any sense of security is
Yeah,
a
she has to
major
tell
theme
him
of
what
it.
to do. Like he doesn't have any sense to know, right?
Yeah, exactly. He has no. He just kind of freezes, and the wife's like, "Get a bat," and he's like, "Huh?" And so he grabs something and goes. He doesn't own a gun, doesn't have a firearm with him, which the other male character in the film has a firearm with him that's locked in a drawer in the house that the white colonizers are renting from him, and yeah, so there's a black guy at the door. He's dressed up in a tuxedo. He's wearing this nice tux, like black tie, attire, and he's got his little daughter, who's I'm guessing in her 20s. She's probably supposed to be mid 20s. They mentioned that she went to university, so he's got his sassy black girl daughter.
And she's sassy.
She's super sassy. She's super sassy, and I guess she's supposed to be hot, apparently, because there's some tension. Like the white boy is later caught trying to take pictures of her.
Taking butt shots, yo.
Yeah, taking butt shots of her when she's at the pool. Very, of course, the white kid's a creepy little pervert, right? He's trying to schwank his meat later on to the pictures that he took of this girl at the when she's at the pool with her bikini. He's portrayed as being creepy, disconnected, and actually kind of cruel. He's a very cruel character.
Because he's really cruel to the sister, right?
Yeah.
All he does is basically reaffirm that she's a loser and she doesn't have any friends, and he keeps kind of saying that over and over. And this has really caused the daughter, who's basically forgotten by all the other characters until she goes missing. She basically, I wouldn't say she's fully dissociating, but she's like retreated into the fantasy world of friends, which is what who she sees, as she says, as her family and her friends, right?
Yeah.
So she doesn't have a real family and friends because her real family are not her friends, and they're all basically wrapped up in their own just narcissistic silliness.
Yeah. Yeah, so everybody has their own little escapes, right? I guess that's one of the major themes here, is just the escapism. And the approved escapism is pop culture, right? It's isolating yourself in a fantasy world of pop culture imagery and iconography, in order to not deal with what's going on in the world around you, which you're not even able to navigate without the input of the pop culture, social media, the internet, right? This is the theme of disconnection, of
Right.
a fracturing of families, fracturing of people, really comes into play in this movie. It's like, as we're talking about it, may sound like it's profound, but the way this movie is, the way it's presented, it's actually so corny. Like, there's nothing.
The way it's
profound about
executed
the
is
film.
not. Yeah, it's not as. It's kind of dealing with serious, profound themes, but in an odd executed way. And then the second half of the movie really goes off in a weird direction that it does start to get preachy in my view, especially the interaction with Kevin Bacon, the prepper guy. But we'll wait till we get there. But so basically, they're at this awkward scene of it's my house, no, it's your house. Well, we rented it, but we own it, and we can't get back into town because there's something going on. And so the shift here happens to where the kids start to notice that, hey, maybe actually there's really something going on, and it's really only the black guy and all the youth, right, that kind of have a suspicion and theories about what's going on, because Julia Roberts and Ethan Hawke are really disconnected. They don't seem to know really what's going on. They're kind of ignorant about tech. They don't really know. She gets these weird messages that pop up when the hacking occurs initially, and she's like, what is this? And she has to go to the black guy's daughter, who explains, well, looks to me like it's, there was a hacking event. She's like, can you explain that? So they're
What's
out
a
of
hack?
Yeah, what's that? And
What does that mean?
so this is our introduction to the theory initially, then, that there's something going on. They can't get cable or TV to work. And so there's no news of the outside world. So now everybody's turned to where they're forced to interact with other human beings, because they're not living through their screens in an external world. They're forced to confront the real world. So I think, again, the movie was intending to have these really profound, what if we didn't have the internet? We were forced to interact with white people and black people interacting face to face. Like that doesn't happen, right? like we don't do that because we
it's like the movie was produced, written, and directed by like Reddit atheism, right? It's like if our atheist were to make an apocalypse movie, this is what you would get. So it's the first interaction that the family has with the owners of the home it's very awkward, and you're supposed to, it's basically it's a bunch of microaggressions by the Karen. Exactly. Right, so the old white Karen who's just totally disconnected can't stop dropping microaggressions on our very stately and diplomatic and intelligent, well-spoken and put-together black man and his daughter, who's also pretty well-spoken and put together, but's got a little bit of sass. But everyone deserves the sass, right? Everyone who gets that sass, they sure deserve that sass because they're throwing out them microaggressions left and right, and so essentially he comes the black family comes to the door. The mother is it's later revealed that the mother's away. She was on a international flight somewhere and coming back to the country on this flight. And the black house owner says, "Look, this was a very awkward situation. I'm GH. I know that we were talking on email before," and basically reveals that they were in the city and all the communications went out. And this is our home, so we wanted to come home because things were getting kind of weird in the city, and we just want to see if maybe we can stay here like in the basement, right? So they let them in, and the black owners of the home are he's very accommodating, very self-sacrificial, very loving and caring towards these people while they're expressing mistrust towards him. Rude, because obviously,
nasty.
Yeah. So she thinks it's a scam, right? The Karen, whose name is Amanda, she thinks that, well, these people are probably scamming us. How can we trust them? I can't trust them. We shouldn't trust these people. What are we going to do? And so there's this whole deliberation between her and the husband. The husband's a bit more trusting. He's like, look, let's see what happens. They'll stay here. They said they give us our money back. So the guy gives him $1,000 cash. He's like, look, this will take care of that first night. Let's just see what happens tomorrow, and maybe everything will get better, and we can take it from there. So he goes and sleeps in the basement of his own home, him and his daughter, while the family stays in their bedroom, uses their kitchen, and still kind of enjoys their little vacation here in the home that they're colonizing from their very sweet hosts.
Yes, and I think by this time, again, more and more weird things are beginning to occur. We start to see the natural world acting bizarre and sort of maybe even rising up in a way against man, or questioning humans, right? We see the deer have suddenly sort of begun to congregate out in the yard, and they seem to be fearless, and they just kind of stare at people. We don't really know what's going on. Later on, it's hinted that the deer have perhaps chronic wasting disease. It's not exactly clear, but they've become kind of mangy. They got deer AIDS, basically, right? They're all gray and mangy, and it looks like at one point they're actually going to attack Julia Roberts and the black guy's daughter, but that's down the road. We don't know yet, but we're beginning to see weird things even in the natural world. There might have even been some kind of a bio release. We don't know yet because the son later gets bitten by a tick, so some kind of Lyme's disease, or who knows. But so maybe there's something weird going on with the bio warfare stuff that we're getting an inkling of. That's never really explained in the movie. It's just kind of like, what if you were thrown into this situation where everything's just going crazy? You're under some kind of attack, but we don't know what. But we do get the beginnings of some indication that the black guy who owns the house kind of knows maybe what's going on, because he begins to talk about knowing people in the defense industry and defense contractors and Pentagon people, and that they had this sort of doomsday scenario and plan that hopefully wasn't the case, but might possibly be happening. But that's
kind of revealed I think that's towards the end, right? Like that's maybe 3/4 of the way into the
Well, there's two
film.
conversations. There's one conversation where he hints that he knows something, but he doesn't say what it is. And then
Yeah, well, there's one where the
later on,
daughter
it's
says to him, "What did that
that you're
client tell you?" And he's like, "Look, I told you everything." So you're wondering what it is that he's, is he hiding something? Is he sketchy? There's this whole kind of psychological thriller aspect to it that's not very well executed. So you sometimes think, well, maybe we can't trust this character, and his name is George. Maybe we can't trust George. But it's later revealed that George was actually completely transparent with everybody and told everybody at the perfect time, right when they would be ready to receive his wisdom as a superior BIPOC true human being, and doling out his wisdom to these white subhumans who treat him so disrespectfully. And he of course is not a member of the elite, but interfaces with them because he works in he works in financial sector. So right, he's saying this. I had met this client a long time ago, and this scene was one of the better, at least directed scenes in the latter half of the movie. It still wasn't that well executed. He gives this anecdote to Julie Roberts' character about how he had this conversation and got drunk with his friend who was a client of his, and the friend said, "I wish you could come to this meeting with me. I wish you could come and get on this flight, but I got to go tomorrow, man, but I wish you could come with me." And he said, "Where are you going?" And the guy looks at him and he tells him, "I'm going to the secret meeting with all of us evil cabal who run the world."
Yeah. Oh, I forgot. That was the phrase. Yeah.
So then, and then GH's character's like, and I laughed, or he laughed, or something like that. And then he got real serious again. And I mean, it was this.
Nobody runs the world.
Well, that's the at the end of this monologue. That might be a different scene, right? That's two different scenes.
Well,
They
it's
break
when
that
he's
up.
saying that, I met with all these people and we're the cabal, and what they told me is that there is nobody running it. And that's the scary thing. He's like, I wish it was a cabal, but there is no cabal. And the scary thing is that nobody's in charge. Nobody's running anything. It's just chaos. So
yeah. So nobody's really running the world, guys. Nobody's making any decisions. And that scene, I feel like we're not doing it justice. I wish I had the actual the script of what he says, because it's not that poorly written. In fact, it's a little bit believable the way he lays it out, because what he's saying is, look, there are people. I think I wrote down a couple quotes from it.
Like Tristan said, it's intended to be a realistic portrayal of the collapse of America, right? And we only get, like the characters, we're only kind of getting these gradual glimpses of what might be going on. And the next big event that occurred, well, I should say, in the midst of this initial chaos, the daughter notices the weird animal actions, and she tries to tell the mom, but nobody listens to her, right? They just ignore her. And so again, this is often the case in movies where kids and youthful characters are typically more in tune with what's going on and with nature. They're a little more innocent. Mm-hmm. And so they kind of see more than the adults, and the adults never listen to the kids, right? They're always ignoring the kids. That's a common theme in a lot of films and lit. And so they keep ignoring the daughter, and she wanders off into the woods with her brother, and they find this weird shed. I don't really know what the purpose of the shed was, but because it keeps coming up, and they talk about some creeper that watches windows or something. But Ethan Hawke decides to drive to town and get information and see what's going on. And he has this really bizarre experience where he's driving and he sees this Hispanic immigrant woman who can't speak English, and she's going crazy and screaming on the road, and he can't understand what she's saying.
But she's it's funny. She's actually, the BIPOC woman is the proper term. So the BIPOC woman is speaking to the subhuman idiot Ethan Hawke, subhuman white man Ethan Hawke, and she's telling him exactly what's happening. I saw this plane going over and it was dropping stuff.
You knew the Spanish. I didn't.
Yeah,
know.
I speak BIPOC, man. Come on.
Right.
So she's telling him what's going on, and he doesn't understand anything. He just looks at her like, I don't speak Spanish. And she's begging him for help. She's like, help me, I need help. She's giving him an opportunity to extend mercy and let her into the vehicle with him. She's like a like a little fat housekeeper lady, a little immigrant woman, and the bigot white man, he's just so scared. And instead of like
here and he drives off, right?
yeah, he doesn't if you were to write a character that's noble, he would calm her down, tell her, look, everything's gonna be okay. Get in the car, come with us. We got this place. You can come with us, and whatever. She can become a part of their crew that's going to navigate this apocalypse together. But no, he just looks at her and it's just like deer in the headlights, like and he just like starts quivering, just gets that soy quiver, and he just drives off. He just drives off.
He's frozen with fear and he just drives off, right?
Yeah, and that's his character's thing.
Mirror, and he's like super guilt ridden, but he's like, I gotta save myself.
Yeah.
And then he sees this airplane dropping all these flyers, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Dropping
So I like how he's just concerned with his own safety, not concerned with there's no real self-sacrifice from him for most of the film. There are a couple moments when I guess he's supposed to maybe be redeemed as a character a little bit, which happened later on. But at this point, he's just the selfish, completely self-absorbed, and ineffectual, and somewhat not really overtly effeminate, but his actions are always effeminate, right? Drives off, leaves his family with these strange people at their home in this possible apocalyptic situation, leaves in the car all alone, gets lost because he's got no GPS. He later even says, like, I'm a useless man. He says, I am a useless man. I can't do anything without my phone or without GPS. So that's he's a complete goober, useless pussy, basically, is what you're supposed to see him as.
Yeah, he says that to Kevin Bacon, doesn't he? He's like, I'm a useless man. I can't do anything.
Right. Speaking of useless men, we got our sponsor. We're going to shout out to our sponsor, Chalk, over at chalk.com. If you find yourself a useless man, unable to deal with the realities of your uselessness, if you find yourself fearful when confronted with
Spanish housekeepers,
yes, with Hispanic with BIPOC, housekeepers on the road during an apocalyptic situation, you want to be able to take charge. You want to have that calm, cool assertiveness that you will have when your hormones are in balance, when you're not all soyified and macro dosing the microplastics. That's why we got chalk.com here to optimize your hormones and enhance your energy levels with the top quality natural supplements. Our boy Jay Dyer here used to be as bald as me, but he's been on that chalk longer and it grew that hair back. Look at that. Look at that hair. Look at that hair. He's doing it. He was just doing a demonstration on what his permanent resting face used to be. He used to have what we call on the streets resting soy face.
Permasoy, yeah. Exactly.
Permasoy. He was permasoid, and it turns out scientifically, permasoy is not truly permanent. It's reversible. So you can reverse a soy with that Tomcat 100. Jay Dyer's been up on that. He's got that Chad mode. So, I mean, Ethan Hawke in this movie, he really just needed himself.
He just needed a big dose of chalk, yeah.
He just needed a bump of Chad mode, right? Just like a key bump of that Chad mode, just right up,
just
right
do
up.
A line of Chad mode.
Yeah, just a nice long snaking line of that Chad mode off of his superior BIPOC's
off of Karen's butt.
Yeah, off of the table made out of a rare meteorite that our superior black BIPOC friend has at this house. So get yourself some of that Chad mode. That's the clean pre-workout. Super awesome. If you look at it, it's nothing but 100% natural ingredients. No red 40, no endocrine disrupting dyes in it. Super legit. And it's got an organic coffee bean extract. You can see all the ingredients right there. It's all solid, top shelf stuff. You can get 53% off at chalk.com on all subscriptions. That's the way to go, guys. Going for those subscriptions. You can get a subscription of that Tomcat 100, of that daily of the Shilajit. I got a bottle of that Shilajit right here. Shilajit is so legit. So you can get that Shilajit, you can get that Tomcat 100. They've got a bunch of awesome herbal supplements. You can get 53% off all subscriptions for life, and you will also increase your comfort around screaming lost Puerto Rican housekeepers in an apocalyptic situation, and that's guaranteed. If the cyber apocalypse comes and you do not feel calm and collected when a freaked out Spanish speaking little chubby lady runs up to the door of your car, Chalk will actually refund you 10 times of what you paid for in carbon credits, because that's what's going to come after this cyber apocalypse. So you will be refunded all those carbon credits and 10 times more afterwards.
So you're saying I won't tinkle down my leg like Ethan Hawke did?
That's right. No, you're guaranteed. Actually, this actually will. I mean, we're on YouTube. We got to be very careful with what we say. We're not trying to make bold claims here, but a lot of people anecdotally have gotten really good results with not urinating themselves in fear when they're literally shaking because a scared Mexican woman is asking them for help. So thank you very much, Chalk. For
why was he so scared? It doesn't even make any sense. Like he's like freezing and freaking out over just a Mexican woman crying.
I mean, I don't know, man. If you've ever seen a Latina really getting emotional, Jay, maybe you would know that you gotta watch out. You gotta watch out when them spicy Latinas are getting spicy. You gotta sometimes have a little ice cold water to throw on that, or you gotta be really really chalked up on that Chad mode.
Well, what did you think about the next sequence as he sees the flyer and it appears to be Islamic themed, or what we later find out it's Arabic script, right? Or it's Iranian. I know Iranians are Arabs, but the script appears to be some sort of Arabic, and they later say this is the message of the Iranian, liberation something, and the Iranian army, they say. So we initially think, oh, we're being somehow attacked by Iran, and then there's discussion of the hacking, and that they've hacked the satellites, and then we get this sequence of the noise, and it's this unexplained kind of. I think we're supposed to think there was maybe an EMP that shut down things, right?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the flyer. So Ethan brings Clay brings the flyer back. He's literally shaking. He's quivering in his little white man. Those little ankle socks. He's quivering in his little white man ankle socks in front of his cool, calm, and collected hosts. And he's got this flyer, and it's red. It's got a snake on it, right? It's got this serpent on it, and everything's written in Arabic. And nobody knows what it says. He's like, I don't know what this says. I don't know what this means, but this freaking drone. He said it was a drone flew over and just dumped a bunch of these. And that scene was kind of, you could tell he's kind of trying to get that Hitchcock vibe. What was that, North by Northwest, or whatever the film is? So
exactly.
It's kind of a North by Northwest ripoff. And the son comes out from the other room, the 16-year-old son, the white kid, who's wearing, by the way, the son for most of the film was wearing a shirt that says Obey, the Obey with Andre the Giant, the first really popular Obey graphic. He's wearing the Obey shirt, and then the daughter's wearing a NASA shirt. And they're very often next to each other, with the boy on the left and the girl on the right, and it just says Obey NASA. like a good portion of the movie is just Obey NASA. So the boy comes out, and he's like, oh, that says Death to America. And they're like, what? He's like, yeah, I know that from a video game I play. So the creepy little white boy who's, perving out, taking pictures of the black girls, but the only other plot advancing contribution that he intentionally gives is knowing how to read Death to America in Arabic. So the white boy who plays video games, he speaks and reads freaking terrorist, right? So it's like this kind of unconscious tying in cognitively of the idea of the young white boy being a possible agent of destruction and being down with the terrorists and speaking the terrorist language. It's really funny.
Yeah, from video games, exactly.
Because of the video games. It's like,
Yeah, that's a good point. I actually missed that. I mean, I know that he's the one that knew, but I didn't think about how. Oh, well, but yeah, but why would he know that? Oh, because he knows terror themes from playing video games. That's pretty ridiculous. That's exactly the kind of line that you would get from like a government
Yeah, that was
operative.
that was probably one of those lines that that the Pentagon, their
Yeah,
$10 million investment or whatever they put into making this film, that's got to be one of the lines where they're like, we got to throw this in there.
exactly.
They try to make it a little bit slick where it wasn't too, but I think when he says this, I think everyone, I think I wrote this down. The rest of the characters break the fourth wall and look right at the camera, which is from the perspective of the white boy that just revealed that he reads and speaks terrorist and knew what this said. And then the black family and his parents look at him like with wide eyes, like, oh my goodness. And you are being stared at by the rest of the characters, and you are looking from the perspective of the creepy white boy who is a gamer and knows how to speak and interpret terrorism.
That's a great point. Yeah. And so what? The next is the noise. Is that the next part?
Well, the tick bite happens before that, right? Like, so
Oh, the noise happened. You're right. The noise
so
did
there's
happen before that.
the weird scene. What do you think about the symbol, like kind of the overall symbol of the deer? I think like it's such a flop. Like, what are you even? What are these supposed to represent? Like you mentioned, nature being opposed to humanity. That was seeming like the deepest level that was consciously applied to the deers by the filmmakers, possibly.
No, I think it's intent. So if you know about the South, there's been a problem for a good while now. What they
Wasting
call
disease.
CWD, right?
Yeah.
Chronic wasting disease, and I mean it's not every deer, but it seems to be this growing problem, and it's really bad in certain areas of the South and maybe outside the South. I don't know, but one thing, some of the symptoms are that the deer lose their sense of fear, and so they'll just walk up to you and start, acting like your BFF. And a lot of people will film this like on YouTube videos, and they don't know that they're like, "Oh, I'm so cool. The deer want to hang out." No, it has chronic wasting disease, dummy. It's not afraid of you.
No, it's
Uh,
just they understand that I'm super spiritual.
they
I
understand
just
you're
have a
super
connection with
spiritual.
animals.
Yeah. So, I mean, the deer also then represent, the way that a lot of people would survive and make it. If the South was, collapsed, if the country collapsed, people couldn't get, groceries or whatever. A lot of people in Tennessee would be eating deer, straight up. That's how we would survive. So I think that the idea is that these normal sources of food, are no longer sources of food because now the deer are acting like they've got some kind of biological something wrong with them.
Yeah.
Especially when they're all
Well,
gray and they're about to charge at Julia Roberts.
yeah, but even the imagery of the deer, they make them look very imposing and strong, right? There's the top deer when the women are surrounded later. I feel like the filmmakers, that's a great point. I feel like the filmmakers were just mostly looking at the deer as a symbol of like the biological world and nature taking revenge on the mean humans, right? And the
Probably.
imposing alien force of nature, which would the wasting disease also connects to the tick bite. Right?
Exactly.
Now you mentioned the boy gets a tick bite, like he gets a deer tick in his leg, which is Lyme's disease is really prominent throughout the Northeast. And the connection of Lyme's disease with possible, as a,
Bioweapon.
yeah,
Plum Island.
Montauk Island and
Plum Island. Isn't it?
no, Plum Island, yeah, Montauk Island. But Montauk, the area of Montauk is actually a really big vector point for that disease, for Lyme's disease. And they mention Lyme's disease in the film too. So the deer tick is what carries the Lyme's disease. So there's this like the possible bioweapon aspect of it is actually, I mean, it's kind of conspiracy candy territory, and they know what they're doing when they put this stuff in this film.
Yeah, I mean, it's intended to be that because when the son gets bit, he pukes up. He gets gets really sick. He pukes up, and then his teeth start falling out. So he's definitely got something.
Yeah, and he gets hives on his body. He starts getting sores on his body. But the deer don't seem as affected, right? They're not afraid of the people, and they're flocking towards these areas where people live, but flamingos are doing it too. You remember when the flamingos show up and the flamingos go in the pool, right?
Mhm.
So the flamingos and the deer, I feel like visually, I don't remember. I'm gonna just see if I could pull it up and
I
look.
think we were supposed to think that the flamencos. So whatever's going on with the EMP and the signal attack, the noise signal, presumably it has messed up, the birds' flight patterns. I think is what we're
Yeah.
supposed to think.
Yeah, there's some sort of electromagnetic warfare thing going on, right?
Yeah.
It's either there's actually auditory, almost like ELF type weapons or VHF,
Yes,
like
exactly.
very high frequency, audible sound that cracks windows at times. So there's this. The attack involves the breakdown of communications, an EMP near the end where all the power goes out, but it's no big deal. They just light candles, right? You like that part where like no one really freaks out that much about the power going out. It's like, dude, I mean, the
They
power
were more
goes
freaked out
out.
about the internet going down.
Yeah, the internet
Right.
freaked them out more, but they just light some candles and it's all good when the power goes out. They're not. There's no discussion of like, what are we gonna eat? There's never really a discussion of, how are we gonna survive?
How are we gonna
Where
survive in the next month? Yeah.
right? You got a refrigerator or a freezer and the power goes out. There goes your fresh food. Your
Right.
fresh food's going to start rotting. You've got maybe a week or so until most of that's bad. So they don't really freak out too much about the power going out, which I thought was kind of funny. But yeah, there's kind of a multi-pronged attack there with the noise. There's actually the third part of the film is called The Noise, and this is after this sound frequency hits everyone holds their ears and kind of drops to the ground, and that's after
Yeah, it's almost
hit
like some
by-
sort of weird Tesla tech, that's been used, which is odd because, I mean, how is a foreign enemy suddenly going to hit the entire country with some weird Tesla tech everywhere, right? I mean, this doesn't even seem plausible, unless we're supposed to think that the drones were somehow involved in this. But even that, I mean, you would really have to have some kind of internal coup. And maybe he says something like that. Maybe I'm mixing it up with another plot because I've been watching a bunch of these kind of collapse movies. But you'd have to have some kind of internal coup within the government that aids in somehow, releasing this signal, whatever this is, because it seems to be pretty prevalent, right? It's pretty much everywhere, as far as we can tell. Because the next scene we see the Teslas piling up because they've gone haywire, right? So Teslas have been shut down, but maybe when they come back on, they're going crazy and they're all crashing, which was an odd scene, which I think was again an attack on, what. And I'm not saying you can't be critical of Elon or Tesla, but it's like, oh, that's a Tesla. They're all crashing. They're doomed to fail. So what has America produced? It's given the height of American technology is the internet and Tesla. The internet's failed. Teslas are failing, right? It's like the whole idea is a big failure, according to the film, I think.
Yeah. To be fair, though, Teslas also suck. Like the
I know
whole
they do
electrical
crash,
vehicle
and
thing. Like,
I'm just saying that from the vantage point of the people making the movie, I think
obviously,
that
yeah. Well,
that's
no,
what they're-
for sure. Like it was probably the you got to pwn the conservatards and make the Teslas pile up because Elon Musk is a total he's a bigot and won't play ball with us on Twitter. I'm looking through my notes here, kind of at the timeline of how everything goes down in the movie. I took way too many notes. There's so much programming and social engineering of how the mechanics of a possible collapse of the power grid, collapse of communications would result in basically chaos, right? Chaos. The characters don't know who to turn to. The characters don't know who to trust. The characters don't know what information is real information, what information is false information. The characters don't know what to do. They don't know where to go. And they're kind of just running around like chickens with their heads cut off.
Yeah.
And we are supposed to be empathizing with these characters. But then also there's this aspect of if you're going to make a film like this, you know that you're stoking the thoughts of possible societal collapse like this in the audience. So it seems like really the social engineering cues that people are meant to be taking from this is that you have to be so scared that this could happen. Right now, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, this is predictive programming. They're going to do this cyber attack." And we've been talking about this type of stuff for years, right? With the cyber polygon, exercises, and the World Economic Forum, and working with defense contractors, military intelligence, and whatnot, working on the possible scenario of a cyber attack. Right? The cyber attack is one of these scenarios that they're saying it's got to happen. It's coming. The big cyber attack's coming. But I feel like films like this, the intention could be to make people so afraid of just the mere possibility of a total collapse like this that a simple, a better way to implement this would be to not really roll out huge, wide-scale power outages and communications outages, but make it protracted, small, and localized so that you can still maintain a certain level of propaganda and control, and then creating enough fear to where people will accept the mandatory digital ID for the internet, the central bank digital currencies and whatnot.
Yeah, like a limited type of thing, a regional type of thing that's then hyped up to be the worst thing ever, like the last 3 years, right?
Yeah.
The coup, this great, Spanish flu type epidemic, right?
Yes.
That just destroyed the world, and it brought the world together to have this stabby response in lockstep. The whole world had to come together and you could have a similar type of thing like you're saying, right, where I definitely don't think that the elite intend to literally get rid of the internet and literally get rid of electricity to put us into some sort of 1800s.
You don't have to do that. All you have to do is have most of the normal people afraid enough of a possible scenario and tease it. It's almost like a cyber attack brinksmanship kind of a thing that you could do to the populace. And to me, that makes more sense than like a full-on it's just, everything's going to get EMP'd and it's going to be a full-on societal collapse and all that. I feel like.
Well, also, I mean, they haven't been building all of this technocracy stuff to throw it away, right? They've been building it to implement it. So if there was an outage or the cyber attack or whatever, this would be some temporary limited thing, hyped up into oblivion. And it was all the Trump MAGA people, or it was all the Christians that did it to get working with Russia, right? That's what they're going to say.
Yeah. Yeah, and the whodunit aspect of the movie is not that important to the plot. You are wondering as a viewer, well, what's going on here? Who's really doing this? And it's supposed to be ambiguous, right? It's this invisible enemy who has done this is kind of it's like you have like a Rorschach test invisible enemy, right? So you've got the flyers that are written in Arabic. And when the survivalist character, who's played by Kevin Bacon, is later confronted by Ethan Hawke and the character George, he reveals to them, once they've sorted their stuff out, they sorted out their business, which we can talk about that scene too. Once they sort out their business, he tells them, well, my buddy in San Diego had a similar thing happen, and the flyers were in Korean. Or maybe Chinese. We don't know the difference. So he says, he tells them it's the Koreans. It's the Koreans that are doing this. Or maybe China. So you've got China, North Korea,
Iran,
white boy gamer, definitely knows something, sketchy white boy gamer, pervert boy. So you've got all these possible people doing it. And then later in the film, in one of the more important conversations that's getting to the very end. Maybe I'll talk about that one at the end. But you don't really know who did it, right? And then I wanted to maybe get into the conversation between George and Julia Roberts' character, the black dude, and Julia Roberts, who they have this, before this conversation happens, they have this like flirty moment where they actually dance together.
Cringe dancing, right?
It's super cringe. It's so bad.
Dancing like this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just like they have a couple drinks.
Black people watching going, oh, that white girl can't dance. Look at that white girl dance.
Well, the white guy is outside sitting by the pool, and the black daughter comes out and offers him a vape.
And they smoke weed together, and the black daughter's like, do you sleep with your students?
Yeah. It's like, do you F your students? He's like, what? He's like, because they get high and it's funny how they portray like when they get high, how they both just get really open with each other.
Right.
It's like, but really, like, dude, the world's crashing down. You're just going to smoke weed. You don't smoke weed all the time. You're going to get super paranoid. You're going to be like freaking out, like my heart feels weird. What's going on? Do you hear that sound? I still hear the ringing in my ears from the freaking EMP microwave weapon that maybe just hit me when I was too dumb to even remember. No, he just hangs out by the pool and smokes some vape with the little
vape, some mind-blowing, Kush, so that we can't even figure out what's going on. It's not the wisest choice, right?
Yeah, it makes no sense, the reaction that they both have to getting high. They both just get really chilled out, like they had a few beers or something. It's so dumb. But yeah, she asks him these like sexual questions, and then he kind of says, "No, why would you think that?" And she's like, "You strike me as the kind of guy that things come easy to," kind of like. There's a lot of these double entendres where everything that gets said by the black girl is pointing towards the white people's either white privilege or their racism and microaggressions. She's constantly pointing out their microaggressions. And at one point, one of the best lines of the movie is when she's like, talk about the pot calling the kettle black to Julia Roberts' character. that double entendre. It was just like, I don't know. I feel like the script was so corny at parts, especially that one. Really, what they should have done is she should have said, like, talk about the pot calling the kettle the N-word is what she really should have said.
Well, I like how you noticed that. That was very perceptive of you to realize that the black daughter was basically just an expert in calling out microaggressions, right? Like everything is like, oh, you did it again. That was a microaggression against me. That's basically all she's good at. I mean, she notices, she's the one at the beginning says it wasn't a hack. Right. And then she basically doesn't do anything else except call out microaggressions and get mad because her dad held back something about the mom or something like that.
Yeah, she gets a little mad at him. And she gets mistrustful of the white people, but you're supposed to empathize with her. But the dad is so selfless, he just ignores the microaggressions, right? He's stoic, he's very measured, unemotional. And the emotions that he shows are very appropriate, but he can stifle them when he needs to. He's kind of like just got it all together.
Well, there's another statement too that comes up. I forget who says it, but they talk about there being an agreed upon delusion that people are good.
Yeah.
Right. And the reality is,
she says when you look close enough. What does she say? Julia Roberts' character is like, if you look closely enough, it's all delusion. So it's kind of this epistemological statement about nihilism and how, maybe everything we believe in this world is just a delusion.
Yeah. And she's, again, trying to grapple with why she hates people, why she's so unhappy. She has that confrontation with the sassy black girl that she's constantly arguing with the whole movie. And then she learns to humble herself and admit that I don't want to be like this. Help me not be like this. And then the deer all gang up to attack. So
the deer just teaching the evil people a lesson. Right? Remember, there was a Julia Roberts character also. She's like, all we do is take and destroy the planet.
That's what the deer thing, right? So it's like the same way that, they're colonizing the Airbnb. Right. We just take from the deer and eat them. Right. We could be vegans and live at peace with our animal brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
But instead we just take, eating up deers. Right. It's a deer H cost. Right.
Yeah.
This is right up your alley, Tristan. That's the point, right? We should be vegans. We shouldn't be.
You have to be vegan because you can't eat the deer because they're freaking bioweapons now. They're walking bioweapons.
Well, yeah, that's true. But
I mean, that's
you're right. It's
actually pretty freaky. When you look at the wasting disease, when you look at the Lyme's disease stuff, when you look at alpha-gal syndrome, which is the Lone Star tick, which is real prominent throughout like the South, that can make you allergic to beef. I guess it lasts a few years where you'd be allergic to beef if you get bit by this tick. So, I mean, those type of programs are definitely kind of seeded throughout this film. So, I mean, I feel like the tick bite and a lot of that stuff, that might have been been a little bit of that DARPA extracurricular script additions there.
Yeah, but I'm saying that you noticed something I missed, which was that basic, diet point, which, the Obama administration is fully on board with the global stuff. That's why Michelle was so adamant about this stupid, high school and grade school diets that she was involved in. It's saying that, we eat deer meat, we take from the land and we don't give back. That was a key point. That was what Julia Roberts was saying. And that's why the deer are getting aggressive.
Yeah, the deer are being mean because they can sense it. They can sense that. And they're taking it back also, right? There's this, in a lot of post-apocalypse movies, like I Am Legend and whatnot, there's this visual theme of nature taking back the...
Nature gets revenge on the evil humans,
Exactly. So you're not, I feel like the average normie might not put together the Lyme's disease, possible bioweapon connection. And I don't think the film explicitly states anything about that. I think somebody just mentions, well, Lyme's disease is real prominent around here. It's probably that. It's got a bunch of weird symptoms.
Yeah, it's just ambiguous, right?
Let me speaking of ambiguous, we got a bunch of ambiguous bigots over here dropping super chats. Thank you guys so much for the super chats. We'll read some of these right now we'll read some of these right now if you don't mind. Sure. Got Views sending $1.99 through super chat, says, did you watch Esmail Homecoming adaptation serial? You watch that one, Jay?
What is it?
Homecoming. I guess it's the same. Esmail is the director.
No, I have his IMDb pulled up here and I see Homecoming. No, I haven't seen that.
Is it? You think it's worth watching? To the comments there. I don't know if I could watch anything else this guy's directed. I watched an interview with the director, and I'll tell you what, we got to get that guy some chalk. I'll tell you, the $25 million on this film, and the director couldn't afford a bottle of Chalk's Tomcat 100.
It says that Homecoming is an anthology series centered around a mysterious Geist group, an unconventional wellness company, and their unorthodox programs, namely the Homecoming Initiative. So sounds like a conspiratorial kind of plot. But I mean, Mr. Robot was very much a conspiratorial plot.
Yeah, that's a big undercurrent throughout this, right? There's this background static of conspiring and lies and mass media manipulation that's never really fleshed out. It remains a mystery throughout the film. So yeah, it's like actually the conspiracy.
And they even highlight that was part of the disinformation campaign, right? When the dad is describing, the black guy's describing the Pentagon plans that he was led into or heard about, it was this idea that when this big catalyzing event occurred, there would be basically chaos on purpose, so intentional chaos, and that's why the flyers that were dropped had all the different languages and why there was all these different things. It was maximizing chaos, he says, so that you couldn't figure out what was happening. So that's why we're getting EMP attack.
He details it as a 3-step thing, right? Yeah. Like he says there's what does he say? He says that there's a 3-step maneuver. He says that his
isolation, synchronized chaos, and disinformation, and then turn people on each other.
Yeah. So he says isolation, chaos, and then coup d'etat. So that actually, I guess it is kind of implicitly implied that these enemies are within the United States, but then we don't know if they are foreign agents, right? You're told, the media is saying that these were foreign hackers, Russian hackers, Iranian hackers, and this is kind of coming through the emergency broadcast stuff that you get glimpses of. But there's also this kind of, undercurrent of, well, you can't really trust anything, and maybe it's somebody else, because there seems to have been a heads up given to the elite, right? This guy that works for the corporations, he says that his client called him the night before, right? He called him the night before, and his client calls him the night before, and I thought I wrote down exactly what he told him. Basically, yeah, he told him what he was really worried about before. In the last conversation they had, he said that he had told him what he's really worried about is this 3-step thing where the enemy will cause isolation, chaos, and a coup d'etat. But then he said this client was moving around a bunch of money, which was very uncharacteristic of him. This same client moved around a bunch of money like 2 days before this event happened. And he's like, I should have put this together, that this was what's going on, because he almost sounded guilty on the phone. And I asked him, I said, so what's up? You in a hurry? You got to go meet with your shadowy elite friends, your cabal who runs the world? And he said he didn't laugh, but he always laughs. And he even laughs at bad jokes. He didn't laugh at that joke. And then he told me, take care of yourself. All right. So what the elite, are worried about is themselves. This is also, of course, what the bad, ineffectual, and effeminate white man in the film is concerned with, is taking care of himself. Whereas the BIPOC, the brothers in the film, they want to take care of everyone. They're open. They're willing to help, to share their resources, to share their knowledge. They don't want to hide things from each other. So I mean, it's super corny and like cartoonish level when I describe it. But the film, they try to be subtle with it. But when you're paying attention, you catch all this. They're not subtle enough.
Yeah, so basically, it's this discussion of how you would take down a superpower, right? Because, we're not a small country. It would take pretty hefty operations to take down the entire country. And I think that's what we find out as this revelation comes about, that it wasn't, one event, this event, that event. This was like the takedown of the United States. And one thing I didn't understand, and maybe this was just a nod to 2001: A Space Odyssey or something like that. But do you remember the sequence where you had the 2001 planetary alignment? And it looked like an eclipse.
Mm-hmm. Then you see the moon, and you see the American flag in gray, and it's backwards as you see when it's the stars are on the right hand side, which is kind of it's supposed to symbolize like America is advancing. It's like talking about warfare, basically.
Well, it's the eclipse of America, I guess, but I didn't know if we're supposed to think that there was some mystical 2001 significance. Like we're going into a new era, right? In 2001, when the when the eclipse occurs, it's the next phase of human evolution, right?
Mm-hmm. But this one, Earth blacks out the sun. It's the Earth eclipsing the sun from the vantage of the moon. So yeah, we're of course in the NASA shirt throughout the film as well. The Obey NASA, Obey and NASA.
Well, it's the eclipse of America, right?
Mm-hmm.
And another thing too, that keeps popping up, and I guess we should mention that this whole final sequence is that the worst character in the movie is Kevin Bacon, who is irrationally attached to his
stuff.
His antibiotics, right? So he's a prepper. He's stored everything. And he's ready to shoot his friends and neighbors over a pack of antibiotics.
Oh no! But they don't even say it's antibiotics. This is what.
They do later, yeah.
Yeah, this is one of the funniest scenes. I'm glad you brought that up, because Ethan Hawke and the black guy, they drive the son whose teeth are falling out of his head after this like ELF weapon. After they all get this microwave weapon thing that whacked everybody. Everyone's got headaches afterwards, and the kid's puking. So he's got this combination of his tick bite plus the ELF type stuff, and he's got like sores developing on his face. So the one redeeming thing that Ethan Hawke's character does, he wants to get his son to safety. He wants to get help for his son, but he doesn't know who to go to. So the black guy is like, well, I know this guy who's a prepper. We can go talk to the prepper, who Julia Roberts had actually seen him buying stuff from the store. And she was actually paranoid and thought maybe he was in on it too. But the black guy was a voice of reason, and he says, no, he's just a prepper. That's probably his normal weekend purchases. So they drive out to the prepper's house. And remember, this is like Martha's Vineyard type place. So there's this like supposed kind of hillbilly prepper who's on his porch with a shotgun, but he's in this total yuppie beachfront neighborhood, and you're supposed to think that there's just some hillbilly prepper with a Dallas Cowboys hat and like a scraggly ass beard, and just looks like he's been holed up in his house just cooking up meth for the last 20 years, stocking up on copies of the Turner Diaries, and he's just like he's like Timothy McVeigh's handler,
Tim McVeigh, exactly right.
But he's kicking it out there in Martha's Vineyard. And he's standing on his front porch, and he's got an American flag. So that's the only other time you see the American flag is, I think, in front of this guy's house, and then on the moon, where it's like dead and petrified. And they ask him, they're like, "We need your help." And he's like, He's like, you best get away from me. You better stay away from me. I got my stuff. I prepared. I got to take care of mine. And they kind of have this existential conversation about like, basically about morality, where yeah, and the black character is like, look, we're friends, we know each other, you know, we should work together. And the old mean white man,
that was before.
yeah, he's, you know, the old mean white man's, he's got his the Turner Diaries in his back pocket. He's got his firearm with the serial numbers filed off of it, and he just, you know, Soldier of Fortune posters all over the inside of his house, probably in Martha's Vineyard. And he's like, no, I got to protect what's mine. I got to protect my family. And so he blackballs him. He's like, nah, man, I don't care if your kid's sick. And he's like, he's like, yeah, he got bit by a bug. He's like, it was probably a tick. There's Lyme's disease all around here. They got a lot of strange symptoms. And then the situation escalates, and you get like it's like a Mexican standoff, except it's like a black guy and a white guy, and then the ineffectual Ethan Hawke is in the middle. He's like, oy vey, I'm so verklept. Why don't shoot each other? Oh, please don't shoot each other.
That's when he says, I can't do anything. I can't do anything. I don't have my cell phone. I'm a dad, and I need this for myself. I can't do anything.
yeah. So he's freaking out, and remember, this is kind of they're cutting this. It's edited to be happening at the same time as the wife and the daughter are looking. The wife, what's her face? Julia Roberts, Amanda, the character, and the black daughter, I think her name's Ruth, are looking for Rose. Is that the girl's name? Is her name Rose?
I think so, yeah.
They're looking for a little creepy white girl. Who looks like she's played by like a 30-year-old midget. Like there's one, do you remember that close-up? There's a close-up of her face, and it's lit in a way where it's like, you look like you're 25 years old. How are you playing a 9-year-old? So they're looking for her, and they find this old creepy cabin, and then
she
deer.
Got that ant face.
Yeah, she got the deer are like
a teenager with an ant. She looks like an ant when she's a teenager. Yep.
Exactly, and this freaking like pod of deer come, 20 deer come and surround the girls. So the girls are like backing up against the cabin. They're real scared. And then that's kind of intercut with Ethan Hawke like, stop fighting, dads, to the black guy and Kevin Bacon. And they're both pointing guns at each other. Remember, the black guy's got a gun. The prepper's got a gun. But Ethan Hawke, the standard normie white guy, has no weapon, has no way to protect his family, relies on other men to do things for him, relies on other men to get ideas, to protect him, to protect his family. And he gets in the middle of them and is like, don't kill each other, please. I don't want to have to clean up blood. I'm so scared of blood. And at the same time, Julia Roberts just starts screaming at the deer like, and she's just screaming at the deer and waving her arms, and her and the black girl is screaming at the deer, and then the deer run away, and then the guys, I guess, they come to an agreement. The voice of reason, he basically just goes, please give us, we need drugs. We know you have medicine. Please. And the guy's like, get off my property, pointing his gun at me. And then the black guy's like, no, please do it. I know you'll do it, please. And he's like, okay. He just decides out of the blue, all right, dude. And then they give him $1,000.
Either because from a prepper's vantage point, you would want to have as many allies in the apocalypse as possible. You're not going to immediately like start trying to shoot people who show up obviously looking for help, right?
Yeah.
You want allies. You want to, make friends. You don't want to immediately start, trying to fire off.
No, but he's just like, I gotta protect mine. I will freaking kill you if you come one step closer to my porch. And the guy's like, I know you. We're friends. No, I'll kill you, bro. But then right. All he has to do is ask him like a few more times, and he's like, all right, dude, yeah, I'll sell you some stuff.
Okay, go ahead.
He's like, and then they buy for $1,000 some just blue pills, and then it cuts to them pouring a blue pill into the boy's hand. The boy takes the blue pill as if like this guy's got his magic, bioweaponized Lyme's disease that's enhanced by.
He's got the Lyme's disease cure.
He's got the Lyme's disease cure in a bottle, and you're just supposed to believe that like, oh, he got medicine. Like that guy has medicine. I got to make sure when I prep that I have medicine too, in case Lyme's disease and a microwave weapon break my eardrums.
In the mind of the sophisticated city normie, right? There's just medicine.
Yeah, exactly. It's just medicine.
Are you sick? Get medicine.
Just generic blue pill.
It's just medicine.
The prepper has medicine. So
doctors give medicine. Yeah.
So anyway, that was one of the favorite scenes. People are talking about Yellowstone in the I'm thinking of that Yellowstone meme with Kevin Costner. People are talking about Yellowstone up in the chat here. I forgot to read the rest of these super chats. Maximus Pike through Canadian $5, which is, I think that's like 3 cents or something in US dollars. It's through them Canadian dollars. No, I think it's actually similar. $5 from Maximus Pike on YouTube says, just a coffee from a proud pay piglet. Well, thank you very much, Maximus Pike. We appreciate that. All you pay piglets out there. You guys are probably referencing, there's some famous song by somebody called Pay Piggy. Have you heard of this?
I have. It's I think it's a Special Ed or a KRS-One track. I'm not sure.
I thought it was Young Boomer.
I haven't heard
so
of
we got Sir Lithius and Naxon. There we go. Biggest super chat of the night so far. Sir Lithius and Naxon donated $37.30 via Streamlabs. So all you guys who donate via Streamlabs, we split in that with Mr. J here. So make sure to drop those Streamlabs super chats there. He says the boys are back in town. The boys are back in town. So brave, so beautiful. Mental healths are on the fleek. Much love to you both. Thank you very much, man.
Well, I mean, if you're celebrity divas like we are, your life is tough. You're going to have mental struggles like every celebrity.
Obviously. No, I mean, Jay and I, we're open. That's the thing is we're open. When we have mental health, we tell everybody. And that's how we get beyond it. That's how we heal. I know Jay's kind of like one of those cuspers.
Take weeks off.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So Jay's like on the cusp. We're not sure if Jay's a millennial or Gen X. He's kind of a malexial. We'll call him a malexial. So he doesn't have as much of the mental health as I do. I'm a millennial, right? I present as I'm trans boomer too. But I mean, us boomers, we have a lot of mental healths.
But I still I got to take basically every other week off for self-care.
Yeah. No, we do a lot of self-care. So we appreciate that. Thank you for helping with the self-care. We're going to use that for self-care. As a trans boomer, I'll probably buy Quaaludes with that. And Jay, as a millennial,
that's self-medicating.
Yeah. Because as a trans boomer, it's Quaaludes. But because Jay's a malexial, his will probably be what's like the Gen X. What's the Gen X? It's SSRIs for Gen X, right?
I do not associate with Gen X.
What are you?
Though they're not as bad as boomers. I don't.
You're a millennial.
But it seems like they would be on SSRIs, yeah.
Okay, so as a millennial, then
I choose to identify as millennial. Yeah.
So you're just your own generation.
No, I choose to identify as a millennial.
Oh, you identify? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said I refuse to identify as a millennial. No, I'm like, damn, are you a Zoomer? Jay only hangs out with Zoomers these days, but like IRL, Jay just hangs out with Zoomers all day.
No, I identify as millennial because, we actually tallied this up. There's not really anything that I have in common with boomers.
Yeah.
A little bit in common with Gen X, but mainly millennial. So,
well, I just want to identify as I'm trans boomer mostly because it's like I like to talk shit on millennials. So, but I'm also technically a millennial. So to actually criticize millennials, I have to be presenting as boomer. So that's why, yeah, anyways, we'll be using those for my trans boomer self. I'll be using those for some lewds, get some of them Quaaludes.
Okay.
Jay, as a millennial, it would probably be, what was it? It's like Xannies or whatever that the millennials are all up on. So self-care, it's really important, guys. Amelie A. Strauss donated $10, didn't even say anything. Big Mike donated $20. Big Mike. Future president of the United States of America donated $20. His favorite apocalypse/post-apocalypse movies.
Favorites? Well, I got some listed here that I'm a big fan of. Let's see. I like 12 Monkeys. I'm a big fan of that.
We did a stream on that a while ago.
We did. I like Hunger Games, the original trilogy, pretty good. 28 Days Later is pretty good. Zombieland is pretty entertaining, just for a goofy. Take Shelter is pretty good.
Remember Shaun of the Dead? Shaun of the Dead was fun.
Yeah, that was fun. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, I like all those. I'm a Mad Max fan. Those are pretty good. Did you watch the new Quiet Place? Those were actually all right.
No, they're gonna say I see the new Mad Max, but I did see the Mad Max remake, the first one.
No, the Quiet Place 1 and 2 with Emily Blunt and what's his face from Jim from The Office. Those are actually pretty good.
Is it like comedy or is it all serious?
No, it's like a action into the world apocalypse.
Well, he pivoted, right? He does more serious acting now. He's not doesn't do a lot of comedic stuff anymore.
Right, now it's like action movies now.
He's an action star. You know what? I'll throw out one that most people might not think of, but actually is an end of the world apocalypse type movie. Is Apocalypto. I think that's the best one. Mel Gibson's Apocalypto.
Yeah, Jamie and I did that not too long ago. It was good.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite movies. Thank you very much for that super chat, Big Mike. Tyshawn Bigums. Oh no, freaking Tyshawn. Tyshawn says, rap battle Jay Dyer or else I take away the switch and your mental health be hurting again.
Ouch.
Bald man bad. No more hair transplant for you, bigot. LOL nerd. Dang. For $5.02 to give me his 2 cents. Tyshawn. Me and Tyshawn have a history. I'm not trying to get into that right now. Gary, dang. All right, Gary wins. Gary donating $50. Gary, when I said that I was splitting it with Jay, he's like, I gotta give a big fat super chat for that one. Thank you very much, Gary. We appreciate that, man. Everybody, make sure to like, subscribe, do all that stuff, and you can support these streams, and then also support yourself by hitting up chalk.com. Get 53% off all subscriptions for life using that code BIG53LIFE. BIG53LIFE. You're gonna get 53% off of the highest quality supplements and adaptogens, guaranteed to make you rap almost as well as Mr. Young Boomer, Jay Dyer here, legendary rapper and producer. Songs such as Pay Piggy and what else? It's kind of that's kind of the top single lately is Pay Piggy. We're all waiting on the next hot drop. All right, so yeah, man. I mean, this freaking movie was. It's like when we talk about it, it sounds on paper like it's kind of good, but it's real tedious to watch. It's slow.
Yeah, it's not as cool as you might think, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely propaganda. We talked about Civil War too, so they seem to be really wanting to ramp this narrative up. And Alex Garland, he's the guy behind Ex Machina. He's the guy that did Annihilation with what's her face. Annihilation was very bizarre, sort of Luciferian, satanic message.
I remember the trailer for that. It was like kind of psychedelic alien type film.
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy movie. And so he's going to be doing this Civil War apocalypse story where America collapses into a civil war, and it looks like it has all of the everything you would expect. It's the MAGA people that caused it by who knows what, being racist, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny how much race, like, you of course would expect it from being produced by Netflix or being produced for Netflix by the Obamas, and this is the first fiction movie that the Obamas have produced. Remember they got that deal? Was it like a $50 million deal or something with Netflix years ago?
Yeah.
And I don't know what else they've produced, but this is the first fiction movie, and it's very fitting. It's actually very fitting.
Did you see any of the trailer for Civil War?
Yeah, I actually did. I mean, I'd pull it up right now, but actually I forgot. I didn't get the audio dialed in to where we could actually watch that.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell from the trailer, like it gets to a point where, America's collapsed, and then there's this confrontation between the people, like in the movie, the Obama's movie, and
no, it's almost like it starts.
You basically got MAGA preppers who end up shooting a kid, basically.
Yeah, and then you have a third-term president. Remember, they said the third-term president. So you've got this president usurping power.
It's a dictatorship. No, it's not. It's gonna be wonderful. It's gonna be great. right? Trump's
Exactly.
there's already saying that, the news the last 2 or 3 days is Trump is going to create a dictatorship,
Mm.
which is what they've been saying since 2016, right?
Yep. Yep. So Trump's going to be the dictator, and he's gonna bring about the downfall of America, basically. That's what it seems like that movie's going to be. But I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it'll be a little bit better written than this one. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at some of my notes here. I think one of the conversation near the end. Let's talk about the ending of the film,
Oh yeah,
right?
I
Like
meant to mention the end with
the end is
with the bunker.
This is one of the worst, stupidest, most obnoxious and subversive endings to a film that you could possibly have. I feel like a lot of people just think it's dumb, but the end of this movie is truly weaponized. You've got kind of the pharma pills, the magic pharma pills that useless man Ethan Hawke is able to negotiate off the prepper. Those are that's like the peak emotional part of the film, and it's a really shitty kind of standoff, almost gunfight that happens where he just begs him, please, please, please give me the pharma pills. He gives him the pharma pills. Then they take off right after the guy tells him it's the Koreans. It's the Koreans or the Chinese, one of them. Then they, let's see, where. No, I'm trying to
When they get
remember
back and the daughter's missing, right?
the daughter's missing. Yeah, that's right.
Can't
The
find
little
her.
girl's
They
still
still haven't
missing.
found her.
The white
And
girl's still missing.
She's wandered into the house that has the underground bunker.
Well, the black guy reveals, he's like, look, we got to get to the neighbor's house because they've got this bunker. This bunker in this house is where we've got to go.
Yeah.
And the prepper guy was telling him before, he's like, I think those neighbors, I think they got an underground bunker. They wouldn't even let me see the plans of what they were doing over there. So the prepper kind of indicates, yeah, you should maybe go to the neighbor's house. So they decide we're going to go drive over to to the neighbor's house. Then you see a long drone shot of New York City, and you could see there's like explosions, big explosions, right? Like possible kind of almost like looking like
Nukes.
maybe tactical nukes going off, like small tactical nukes going off in New York, and you hear gunfire off in the distance. The drone shot drops down. You see the neighbor's house, this big white beautiful house kind of on the what's like the harbor or whatever you call that. And the little girl is inside the house. She had already found the house with the bunker that everybody else was going to then go to. And she's walking through the house kind of like in this, I don't know, it's almost like the Shining type of shots of the little girl in the house. And she's sitting at a table and she's just surrounded by like goy slop. Like she's just got all the freaking kibble foods like Funyuns and Doritos and she's having a feast just
Fruity
gluttonously.
Pebbles.
She's Fruity Pebbles and stuff. She's just gluttonously consuming a bunch of trash processed food. And she's all alone, just looking kind of autistic.
Well, that was kind of the point, is that the world that you leave behind is oddly enough the one that you are nostalgic for, because there was this phrase said to the little girl earlier in the film where she's like, oh, I love Friends. And Friends is the 90s, right? It's 90s prosperous New York. And I think the black girl says to her, oh, well, that's a world that never really existed, right? So it's like the dream fantasy world of white people and white comedy and whatever. Oh,
yeah, it's
that
nostalgia for something that never even existed, I think is the line.
Right. And so the irony is that when everything collapses, the world is left behind, and you have your bunker, you are nostalgic for the consumerist, corporate world that got left behind. And that's where you're going to live in.
Yeah.
You're going to live in that fantasy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so the girl's in the house. She's sitting at the table eating all the, the crap food that's in there. She's drinking freaking Pepsi.
Sunny D.
So yeah, she got like Pop Tarts and Funyuns and Cheez-Its and Reese's Cups and Lucky Charms. So there's no real food. Like it's all just, and she's totally happy with these like dead little girl eyes. You know, you could see the bottom whites of her eyes. She's got this kind of that 1,000-yard stare, and she's all alone there, just sucking down the soy slop. And then she walks downstairs or whatever, like towards the basement, and it's got these kind of wannabe Kubrick shots of her walking towards this big bunker door, right? So she's in this house that supposedly has this bunker, but she's just able to open the door. There's no lock or key. There's no security for keeping you out of the bunker. She just walks in and opens this huge ass metal door, walks into the bunker, and in the bunker she flips the light on, and there's like a whole little I don't even know what you'd call it, like a rich white people apocalypse shelter. There's a nice table, some water, stainless steel
Electricity,
accessory,
television,
yeah, hydroponic plants growing in there, exercise equipment, and then there's this shot of the pantry, right? And the pantry is like it's all storable food that these people had bought, and it's just canned kibble, right? It's like cream of wheat and like Domino sugar, and Barilla pasta and Aunt Jemima's freaking syrup. It's just all soy slop. It's all just freaking like globo homo kibble, and
right.
And she's obviously so happy, and it shows this long shot of like the comfort of the kibble. And then there's electronics in there too, and you're connected with the emergency alert system, and the emergency alert system says White House and major cities are under attack by rogue armed forces. Elevated radiation levels detected near multiple population centers. Seek immediate shelter. So there's some sort of a connection with this emergency system. And the little pale, creepy, blue-eyed white girl walks over to the most important piece in this apocalypse bunker, and it's a flat screen TV and then a DVD collection. So it's like you see Jay's got this nice his bookshelves behind him. This is like the Globo Homo Normie DVD collection, and she's got like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and every 90s TV show and the 90s movies, and
Right.
and she looks through it, and of course she goes and she finds Friends. She finds the Friends DVD because she has to watch the last episode of Friends. This is the most important thing to the little zonked out creepy white girl whose brother's totally cruel to her, whose dad's a total loser cuck, whose mom almost cheats on the dad with the black guy, but then catches herself like at the last minute. And she puts on the Friends DVD, navigates through the system, finds the last episode, and then like the last shot that you see is her face, her little blue eyes, kind of like this almost, like the Kubrick stare. They call it the Kubrick stare, like the dead-eyed glare. She's just staring up at the screen, like looking at her God. And you see the blue again, the blue light from the screen reflecting, and her whole face turns blue from the screen, from the blue light, the artificial light on the screen that we all know is actually really detrimental to your health. And then it just fades to blue, and the freaking Friends theme song plays, and that's the end of the movie. So no one told you life was gonna be this way, and that's it. It's so bad.
So you're reminiscing for a thing that didn't exist, and which ironically is the very thing that collapsed, right? This evil, American empire of colonialist, cracker people. It's now collapsed. And what are you reminiscing about that fake world that was a lie anyway, right? I mean, it's all kind of ridiculous propaganda, but yeah, I think there is potential for predictive programming in this. It's said to be what the most realistic way that if America was taken down, this is how it would go down, this kind of a thing. So whether that's the case or not, I don't know. But I mean, I do think this was, together with Civil War, will probably be some pretty heavy predictive. And I think between now and the election, there is the potentiality to really push for the next big kind of event. I mean, I know elections are kind of silly and ridiculous, but just like, they had COOF, what's it going to be this time? Cyber Polygon, COOF Part 2. I mean, who knows? Financial problems.
Yeah. No, I mean, this definitely the current,
or a war. They've been talking today about war with Russia.
yeah. No, I mean, well, this movie kind of points to all those being possible, right? So this
Right.
any sort of cyber attack, anybody could be blamed, right? You could blame
Right.
all your potential enemies, which is what the GH character even mentions. Or no, he doesn't
Right.
mention that. Who says that? The prepper guy. He's like, well, maybe all our enemies came together.
Came together, yeah. Exactly.
It's like, yeah, wow, what a great coincidence. Maybe all your
Right.
enemies came together and zonked their entire population into chaos so that they could bring about this new system. But it's so, to me, it's like the ending is so bad, but it's kind of perfect for just like a propaganda film, right? Like America is that little girl, nostalgic for something that
Right.
they've never really seen, abused and neglected by the world around her, and raised on weaponized pop culture of celebrity worship and worshiping other people's imaginary inventions of reality and what it's like to have friends and love. So this false love. And then the world is ending, right? Like this is total civil war going on. You don't even know the extent to how bad everything is, and it's supposed to be so horrific and terrible and terrifying. And the oasis of comfort, and the oasis of safety that these people all decide they need to run to is a bunker full of a bunch of processed foods and crap from the old world that's
Exactly.
ending, and mass media propaganda film or mass media propaganda television series, Friends, and the blue light and the dead eyes and the SSRI stare that the little girl has. It's like it actually is kind of perfect. And then when it's like R.I.P. Matthew Perry, you was a real one, flashes on the screen, that was pretty crazy. No, that didn't happen. But yeah. I wish we could watch the Civil War trailer, because it seems like watching the Civil War trailer, it's almost like that's the sequel to this movie in some ways, right? It kind of seems to be taking place in like the same universe, Jay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it makes me want to kind of read the plot of Mr. Robot, how the show ended. I'm not going to watch it, but
How many episodes are there?
I don't remember how many seasons it went.
How much of it's just gay, just softcore gay porn? It's like that's basically what it is.
No,
these
they
days?
didn't. They didn't introduce that until about season 3, because a lot of people were watching it and dropped out when that happened. So
Isn't that what they did with
I
Game
got all
of
the way to
Thrones?
season
It's like
3.
they like Game of Thrones did a lot of that, where it's like
Right.
you start to get into the plot, and then it's just like, hey, here's
Now we'll
some,
throw in all this.
here's
Yeah,
some gay stuff, here's some lesbian scenes. Remember, like the last season of Game of Thrones, when they're trying to wrap the plot up, and they spend like 5 minutes on a totally unnecessary lesbian love scene. It's like, what the hell are you doing?
I do remember that. Yeah. I'm gonna have to go here pretty quick, but
Yeah, I just read all
is there
the
any more
see
super
if you-
chats? It was a great breakdown. It reminds me of The Stand too. Do you remember the Stephen King The Stand?
I haven't seen it.
You never watched that back in the 90s?
No, The Stand.
Oh man, that was crazy. Did you ever read The Stand?
Is it about like a societal collapse? No, I haven't read that. I only read like,
That's
I
like
think I
the
read
most famous. It's the most
Carrie.
famous bio release apocalypse book ever. And they've made 2 different series out of it. They made a 90s like 5-part TV
Oh, wow.
movie out of it, and then they redid it in 2020. It's pretty funny. I mean, parts of it are good. About the first half of The Stand is really good, and then it gets really goofy with well, I can't really talk about it on YouTube, but
Oh, wow.
yeah, it's funny.
Sorry, my dog's whining in the background.
I'll explain it to you later.
Yeah. Sweet, man. So someone in the chat just pointed out the fact that you're rage quitting. That's fine. I mean, if we didn't even get to the battle rap part, and Jay's quitting. Obviously, he doesn't want to get there. I'm gonna spare him the embarrassment of having to chill.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, man, I appreciate you coming on. You guys who are not subscribed to Jay, most of you probably are, but there's also a link in the description to Jay's channel where you can subscribe, or you can click on the title. It's actually, they allow you to tag people in the titles. He's tagging the title there as well. Make sure to subscribe there. And thank you guys for the support. Hit the like button, smash the fash, and make sure to look. If the apocalypse happens, guys, I think this is the big takeaway. Is like if and when there's some sort of an apocalypse, you really need to make sure, first of all, stop microaggressing BIPOCs, okay? Those are the trustworthy people. Black people, little Mexican ladies that are really scared. Let them in your car, right? You're a guest in their home. You are a guest in the BIPOC's home. You as an American white person, you're ineffectual. You're useless, as the character Ethan Hawke played says.
You're scared.
You're just supposed to be scared, right? So, you should be like literally shaking, quivering, possibly, little tinkle down your leg, peeing yourself a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's normal. Okay. Hollywood is here to help us understand what normal behavior is. And, so be nice. Be nice to those people, because they're better than you, right? They're better than all of you. And also be nice to Jay. Be nice to Jay, because he's also better than most of you.
But I am mean. I'm trying to be nicer.
He's trying to be nice. He's trying to change, like Julia Roberts' character, who tried to change for a little bit, and then she decided not to. So all right, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Jay, for joining.
Absolutely fun times.
All right. Good night, everybody.